The first process, and then after that we get into the mayoral race.
Yeah, look, it's a historic day for the people of Johannesburg. It speaks to the fact that democracy is at work. It says when people expressed their ballot, they said, the people of Joburg said they wanted change. And I think this is the first indication of change. Now we've elected a new speaker for the city of Johannesburg. I want to wish Councillor Vasco Da Gama all the best. It's a mammoth task. Joburg is a big city. It's a massive budget. It will require a lot of work. And I want to wish him well, but always we commit ourselves to saying we want to serve the people of Johannesburg, want to deliver the best services for the people. And so ultimately, when I look at it, it is certainly an expression of democracy and a victory for the people of Joburg.
I guess the other thing is that what the DA should do now is also, send gratitude to the EFF and those other small political parties that you've managed to sign an agreement with.
Look, it was always going to be important in the process of negotiations that we come to a point where we say we agree on certain things. And I think today the basic tenets are that we must deliver for the poor, we must stop corruption, and we must make sure this place is an economic hub for growth. So long as we agree on those principles, anything else becomes a sideline issue. We've got to materially change the living conditions of the people of Johannesburg. And so I think on the basis of that, there is a view of change, and I think to the opposition parties, they've come together and said, how do we take the city forward?
Earlier on, there was a bit of a scuffle around the issue around how the voting process has been going on. Councillors making the ballot, making the marks on the ballots, and then displaying who they voted for. There was an issue raised by the ANC. It was an issue also raised by one of the other parties over here as well, and the AIC. And yet the DA don't find any fault in that.
No, look, let's remind ourselves that the first starting point is the fact that there were allegations of bribery against councillors. It is in the Constitution to say you have a right to elect the speaker in a secret ballot. And in a world where, in fact, people have been alleged to say that they were corrupt, that they were open to bribery, I think there's something honorable when somebody stands up and says, I actually want to say I'm not corrupt, and I voted for this candidate because I'm not being bribed to do so. So each right, and this particular one, the right to a secret ballot, is enshrined. And that's how elections must be conducted. And individuals have the right to give expression to it.
Was this not an agreement between the small parties? That's including the DA, the Freedom Front Plus, and all the other political parties that you have an agreement with, that once you walk up that podium and you make your ballot, make sure that you show everybody who you have voted for, because you want to counter the ANC's efforts of trying to lure in some of your members.
Of course, there is always in a caucus, how caucuses operate, take different forms. In our view, we are saying, look, you elect people to go represent you, and that's their right. But they also have the right to say to one other person, look, this is how we stand, because it's important that we deliver on the change mandate that the people of Johannesburg have put before us. So it always became a critical thing. And I think against that, the people of Johannesburg expressed a vote. Now they've got change.
Pre the elections, the DA was quite vocal around the integrity of the IEC. Today we had votes that were counted, 270 councillors seated who voted, but there was an extra ballot. Are you at all confident that once you start voting for the mayoral candidate, who the mayor of the city of Joburg will be, that process will be smooth and won't be marred by any of these, an extra ballot or so being found?
Look, it's the starting point. It was the first big election of this nature. It's quite tense. I think the IEC must prepare themselves better for conditions such as this one. I mean, this particular chamber is less than ideal because Joburg is rebuilding its own. So there were a number of variables that the IEC has to contend with. At this point in time, I'm glad that we persevered through a very difficult election. It was always going to be tough. But what we've got to ask is that for future, particularly for the next one, I think the IEC has learned. Now we must produce the ballots and make sure that we've got the appropriate processes to ensure that the elections are free and fair, that the will of the council is expressed, and that we honor what the people of Johannesburg have asked us to do.
Final question. Before the end of the day, Herman Mashaba will be the mayor of Johannesburg?
Yeah, I would hope so, and we're feeling quite good. I'm buoyed by the first result, and once the first one is in place and the speaker has a casting vote, of course, then the next one should work in favor of Herman Mashaba.
Thank you so much. DA leader Maimane there.